I'm Brooke Baldwin. Make no mistake, it is a good time to be a comedian in this country. Late night TV mercilessly mocking this 2016 race, and actually primarily they're mocking Donald Trump. And this weekend, no different.
You would think at this point Hillary could just kick back with a glass of Chardonnay and her laptop and just keep refreshing 538.com until Election Day. After all, she's running against a lying racist buffoon who doubles as Billy Bush's wingman.
On Friday, Mr. Trump made what he called a major announcement.
President Barack Obama was born in the United States, period.
Okay, that's what's called a firm grasp of the obvious. Next, I assume he's going to announce that water is wet, bears poop in the woods, and that Donald Trump is not qualified to be president.
Trump's comments are not wrong because you have female relatives. Guess what? A surprising number of Americans have at least one female relative. Trump's comments were wrong because women are human. And if you hadn't stood cravenly by while he insulted them for a year, you wouldn't be in the pile of elephant you're in today.
These new bombshells could very well bury Trump for good, which means, at the very least, we probably already know what the third debate between Trump and Hillary will look like.
It's funny. It's funny. These guys are laughing. Bill Carter, CNN media analyst and author of The War for Late Night, and Paul Mercurio, Emmy and Peabody Award-winning comedian who's worked on several late-night shows, including The Daily Show, The Colbert Report, and The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. He also has, not done yet with you, he also has a podcast on iTunes to check out called Two Chairs and a Microphone. So great to see both of you guys.
Nice to see you. Great to be with you.
Bill, let me just begin with you. Why do you think this year is so totally different when it comes to these hosts and late night in politics?
Well, first of all, Trump is a character you can't make up, and he kind of generates his own humor. You can see that the jokes sort of flow naturally from some of the outrageous things he says. But also, I do think the comedians have reacted differently this year. I think there's no doubt about it. I talked to Colbert, I interviewed Colbert, and he was saying if Trump is elected, it's the greatest gift for comedy ever, which is great for comedians, but bad if you're a citizen. He said, I think you have to separate those two things now, and I think you see all the comics are kind of making that sort of a mission that they're going after Trump. I think there's no doubt about it.
But I don't think it's a conscious where people are sitting in a writer's room saying, okay, we're going to destroy Trump today and prop up Hillary. I don't think that's happening in news organizations. I think that
we have to be very conscious. Okay, we give Hillary Clinton X amount of time, we give Trump X amount of time. Are you guys counting jokes? I don't think you're counting jokes.
No, you don't want to do that. If you can't say, well, we got 8 jokes on Trump, we have to have 8 jokes on Hillary. No, if there are more jokes to be had, you do them. I think if we have any ethics, which comedians usually don't, it's to do smart, funny, provocative material that's going to give another point of view to the viewer. Because right now we're getting a lot of pivoting, obfuscating, between the liberals and the conservatives. We're like the kids between the parents who call them on it and try to be honest with it.
Except you're sort of taking sides with mom instead of dad.
Well, but his actions justify it.
Well, one of the big differences is the Daily Show, the Colbert Report changed, I think, the format. They were editorializing. They were directly editorializing, and you see that now.
Versus a Carson or a
who
Leno.
just did a stand-up and would do jokes like across the spectrum. So they were doing a point of view, and you can see Seth Meyers is doing the same thing. Seth is like
it's
more.
The Weekend Update, but
yeah, it's really straight at the camera. This is what I think. I mean, he's calling him a buffoon. He's coming out and giving you his point of view. That is pretty different, I think.
And it's resonating because isn't Seth doing really well?
He is doing very well, yeah. And I think Stephen Colbert has come really on now that he's just let himself be himself. Let Stephen be Stephen. He's way better, way stronger.
Well, to Bill's point about it's Trump material is more digestible for a comedian. It's a little easier to turn that stuff around.
You can't explain WikiLeaks versus active email versus private email server.
There's a server, you know what I mean? You can get there, and there's just a quantity. He's fertilizer for comedy. He really is. And so I don't think people are, look, I think the consequences are dire in this election because what could happen here is frightening to a lot of people. So I do think it's a different election in that sense as well. But I do think that comedians try to sort of straddle that line. But when it's a lot of food on the plate from one candidate,
Well, with your fertilizer line, I would also just jump in and say SNL has done a fantastic job in also trying to poke fun of Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, they do.
McKinnon.
They have a take on that.
Watch.
Thank you both for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'd like to begin tonight by attempting a casual lean.
what I'll be watching for in the next couple of weekends, and Lorne Michaels would never say, is whether we see a Trump or a Hillary Clinton cameo in these final weekends ahead of Election Day.
Yes.
To both of you, I mean, this is millennial. They're all tuning in.
Yes.
How will that affect how they feel Election Day?
Well, I think you're going to, if you watch these shows and you like these shows, you probably agree with the point of view. It used to be interesting when Stewart would have a non-Democrat on, and the audience was against them. He'd have to calm them down.
Yeah, we would have to tell them before the show started. He'd have to say, "Please be respectful."
Yeah, be respectful. So the audience is already there with that. The question is, are they going to be more active because of this? Will they vote because these guys are saying this is critically important? That could be a factor, I guess.
You know what we found with the Daily Show when I was writing on it, I'd have so many young people come up to me and go, "I only get my news from the Daily Show." That meant that the honesty of the Daily Show, whether it was left or right, was resonating with them. And whereas the talking point pivoting stuff wasn't. Now, I also say to them in the next breath, that's not a smart idea to just come to us. First of all, we're a bunch of buffoons who happen to sluck into a great job. But you should go to different sources, and that's the problem with our society. You should, if you're liberal, you should be reading conservative papers and vice versa, and getting all points of view and making your own decision.
Well, you tell, I have to go, but you tell Jon Stewart we miss him, and I'm also just curious, is he throwing things at the television as he's kicking it with his family?
I think he probably is.
Yeah. Oh, that's so drunk he can't deal with it. So.
Bill and Paul, thank you so much. That was a great conversation. Coming up next.